I'm actually doing a little video here on the Audi A5 Coupe because I actually have one as a loaner car for the day, and I figured, why not shoot it? Pretty cool. No, I don't have the window sticker on this, so I don't know what all the options are, but I do know by these wheels and of course by the bolsters on the seats here that these are the sport seats. So it definitely has the sport package. It has paddles, but it doesn't have a flat bottom steering wheel. I haven't done much research with this one, but it seems to be like a premium plus, but just not fully loaded. Overall, it's cool. I don't know what the price is on this. Those appear to be LED headlights. And yes, it is a bit dirty because I'm here in Austin and we got a lot of rain from Hurricane Halbert? What's his name? Harvey Keitel. There are some things I like and dislike about this car, and I'll tell you that right away. First things first is this door. Now, I'm not used to these large coupe doors. I haven't had a coupe in a long time. But you notice the handles here. So I have a car in my garage on that side, and the door opens really wide. But the way I control it is over here, and the leverage is terrible. That means that I can't grab it here if the wind was to grab the door, and it's a large door, there's going to be wind grabbing it. It's just very hard to control this door in a windy situation like I had yesterday. And in my garage, it's nerve-wracking actually. Why would I want to put a dent in my other car in my garage? Why would I want to do that to myself? Anyway, that's one of the dislikes. Let me close the door here. I do have virtual cockpit as well, so let me start this thing up. So now you'll notice the screen here is fixed to the dash, unlike the A3 and the A6. It seems a little tacky, but at the same time it is a nice wide format, and it is bezeled. It's got a nice look to it, and you can always turn it off if it's too distracting at night. But it just sits there, and I don't know, I think it'll take a while to grow on me. This is what I really don't like. This vent here is just ugly. I'd rather see what they did in the Q5. This is interesting too. The cruise control stock is actually lit up. So when the headlights turn on, this turns on. I last saw that in the Q7, and now I see it in the A5. I don't even remember seeing it in the A4. Also, you'll see here we have a fully opening sunroof, which is definitely new for the A5. It also has a power shade that can close when the sunroof is still open. So that's cool as well. I also have heated and cooled seats, and they can also run at the same time. The heat feels good, but then at the same time, if you start sweating, it's nice to have the moisture wicked away by the fans. It's definitely a level up from what the A5 used to be. The rearview mirror has an edgeless design. It's very nice, but at the same time you do get a lot of fingerprints on them. But how often do you move the mirror? I mean, you just grab it on the edge here and you'll be all right with that. We also have an SOS system. So that SOS button calls for emergency services. And beyond the virtual cockpit and the updates to the steering wheel, I mean, it is a whole new car. It's still an A5. So let's take it out on the road, shall we? So I do have a little arm here to present my seatbelt to me, which is typical in a coupe. That's been done back in the 80s, actually. Mercedes-Benz, I think, was the first one to do that in their SEC, and then followed it in the E-Class coupe. But we're talking about the Audi A5. Let me put it in reverse. Let me show you how this gear selector works, and you can see the backup camera, and then we'll hit the road and go for a quick spin around the block. I'm not going to take too long doing this. I do want to say my cell phone is here in this slot because it doesn't fit here, and it doesn't fit here. It's not only too short, it's just not enough space. So I put it here, and then if I used to put it here, I always forgot it in the car when I get out. So while this armrest is very adjustable, this whole cubby hole I'm not a fan of, because well, you can put your phone in there, but then it flops around. So let's get on with it though. The other thing too is when I'm on something here like the radio and I want to change stations, I can change stations, but then I can't easily change the volume. I have to go down here. So I have to do huge arm movement just to play around. Of course I can make adjustments here, but I'd have to use that screen to do it. So I could go here and then make my adjustment this way, and it obviously doesn't show me the same information as what I get here. But let's continue with the drive. To put it in reverse, I have to put my finger on this and then push forward. Then the camera comes on, and you'll notice the parking brake stays on, but if I put my foot on the gas pedal, it releases. And of course I have parking sensors. Let me close the garage. And in 1 second, I will be out on a faster road. Don't want to obviously go quickly in my neighborhood, so give me 1 second. And even compared to the A3 that I have, this feels like a different machine. This definitely feels heavier than the A3. It almost feels as big as an A6 at this point. Also, I can't even tell if this is a dual clutch or a ZF8 automatic transmission. It sounds great, but you can see here with the layout, the car feels much roomier compared to the previous edition, and the layout seems like everything's a far reach. You can tell, like, right now I can't touch these buttons, and what I do have a hard time finding out is like right now with the glare and stuff, is like, what am I looking at? So I have to wear these sunglasses, which are polarized, and it helps with cutting down on this reflection here from these buttons, which maybe nobody tested the car in Texas, and this is kind of not just the A5, but it's all the Audi products with this new HVAC system. On certain days like today, it's just difficult. So the other thing too is the recirc button's way over here, and I just have a hard time finding out what I'm looking at because there's so much to look at here. It's the same functionality as all the other HVAC systems, as the ones in the past, but there's just more to look at. Now, I have virtual cockpit, which is nice because I can change my instrument sizes, I can go over to the map, I can show the full map. Now, keep in mind this car doesn't have the active SIM card in it. Weirdly, it does have something from the A3, which is in the glove box, and that is the Audi MMI SD card and two SD card slots and the SIM card slot. That's right in there. And what I've been told is that SIM card slot is a false slot. You can put a card in there and it won't recognize it or read it because there's a SIM card embedded somewhere else in the car where you have to activate and pay for a service where you can get Google Earth and online traffic and a bunch of other stuff. It is a different setup from the previous A5s and of course the previous A4s, and now you no longer can pop in any cell SIM to get these types of services. You just have to make a call, and then I think it's basically $10 a month or something. So it's the same you would pay to a cell company to have an extra line, or you just pay it to the company that provides it for Audi. Now, as far as acceleration, this thing does put its power down, and it feels different from an A3. I gotta say, going from the A3 to this, the A3 felt nimbler, lighter. This thing feels heavier, wider. I get what people say when they say that the A5 feels numb. But one thing I do like is the visibility. I have a lot of visibility from here, as you can tell. I can see everything around. And that's a good thing, because in the A3, I feel like I'm a little bit more confined, whereas here in the A5, which obviously is a completely different car, but I'm just going to give you a comparison here as far as the sporty cars go. And when it comes to this BMW versus Mercedes, maybe even the Ford Mustang, what are you looking at besides the emotion or the appeal of the interior, or maybe even the aesthetics It really comes down to how it behaves on the road. And this being a Quattro means that it's going to grip, although I didn't find it being very engaging. That camera is really close. Anyway, it may sound like I'm nitpicky, but maybe I probably am, because I actually like the A3 more because it's cheaper and it's lighter and it feels faster than the A5. The A5 is obviously more luxurious, but then there's also the A5 Sportback, which I like a lot more than the Coupe. But some people may still want this Coupe aspect. I don't know why. I mean, it's a great looking car on the outside, don't get me wrong, it's great looking. And I think if you're like me, I mean, I used to really want an A5. Maybe the A5 will still work for you. I mean, if you want a luxury coupe. The seats are firm, they're very comfortable because they're very supportive and firm. But they heat and cool, they do everything. They don't have all the features of the S5. And this car doesn't have all the convenience of the A5 Sportback. So you're really, I think, cheating yourself out of more flexibility by not getting the Sportback. You're cheating yourself out of a better interior by not getting the Q5. And I guess what this brings me down to is, who is the A5 for? And I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe it's for the BMW driver who's tired of the BMW service department, or maybe their insurance is too high and they realize an Audi is less expensive to own and operate. Maybe it's the Mercedes buyer. Maybe it's a person coming from a Mustang who doesn't want a big V8 for a commute. Tell me, let me know. Put something in the comments below, because this car I never really asked for. It was just kind of given to me for the day. And while that's nice, I'm now confused by this thing. I really, not that I want to say everyone's buying SUVs and trucks, why do you need a sedan, who even buys a coupe? But still, it does make me wonder how many hardcore coupe fans there are out there. There are many choices, and you get the Camaro, the Mustang, there's also, Audi still makes the TT, then you have this A5, and then BMW has the 2 Series, the 4 Series, there's also the Mercedes E-Class. Is there a C-Class coupe? I don't remember. There's just so much out there for coupes, and I don't think it's enough of a market share to make it worthwhile. Maybe you can tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. I'd love to hear about it. Anyway, this is the A5 Coupe. It's a smooth, all-wheel drive, 4-cylinder turbo. It's great for casual driving. I wouldn't necessarily take it to the track, but I hope you enjoyed the experience. I'm gonna go take it back to the dealer now and maybe go drive something else. I'm gonna mention it as well about this interior. I'm still not a fan of like this whole trim piece here, and I don't like this open pore wood. I prefer the aluminum, or at least the carbon fiber. I would not get this dark, depressing wood. It's just terrible. Something else that's terrible though is this. I have a lot of plastic. Hard plastic here, and then hard plastic here. And here, it's like trim pieces, but it's everywhere. And I only just noticed that while I'm sitting here at the gas station waiting for someone to come out. And you hear it when you're using the door here. It's just tacky. Something else that's weird too is the way this thing steers through corners. No matter which mode I have drive select in, if it's in comfort or auto or dynamic, the feedback on the steering wheel doesn't seem to load up in harder corners. It just seems to require the same amount of input, and I wouldn't call it numb, I would just say it's odd. There's a center armrest that actually has cup holders, which puts the total at 4 in the back seat, but only if you can figure out how they open up. Notice what the window does. Rear seat access is easy with this double time button here that moves the seat forward and back quickly. Now on the highway, this thing's not so bad. It's quiet, it's got some passing power, but at the same time it feels vibraty. I don't know how to explain it, but the engine, the drivetrain, there's something here where it feels more like a 6-cylinder than a 4-cylinder. Not that that's a bad thing, but that it also doesn't feel like a very silky smooth inline 4. So it's a little odd. I'm getting this almost engineered not to be an Audi. This almost feels like the most non-Audi I've ever driven. It's trying to be something else, is the impression I'm getting. And maybe that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know. Maybe you can let me know.